The ongoing controversy surrounding the WNBA's officiating has taken a disturbing turn, with many fans, coaches, and players voicing their frustrations. At the center of this growing storm is Caitlin Clark, the league's brightest star, who has been repeatedly subjected to brutal physical play on the court with minimal protection from the referee. Time and again, Clark has been pushed, shoved, and hit hard by opponents, and the referees have largely failed to call fouls on these blatant offenses. The frustration of fans has been palpable, with many pointing out that the WNBA's refusal to protect its most marketable player not only jeopardizes her safety, but also risks the league's future. Fans are questioning why, despite being the most exciting and promising player in the league, Clark continues to face unchecked physical aggression with no whistle to stop it. In fact, Clark's every move has become a battle with defenders, treating her like an opponent in a UFC fight rather than a basketball. Caitlin Clark's rise in the WNBA has been meteoric, but it has also been met with intense scrutiny, particularly when it comes to the physical treatment she endures. On the court, fans, players, and coaches alike have been outspoken about the lack of calls that favor Clark, especially when compared to other stars in the league. As one of the most dynamic players in women's basketball, Clark has already made an undeniable impact on the sport. Her arrival in the WNBA was heralded as a turning point for the league, bringing in new fans, skyrocketing TV ratings, and packing arenas. But instead of being met with the respect she deserves, she's been subjected to rough play, contact that would have earned a foul for any other star player. The referees have been either negligent or downright dismissive, and this has created a tense atmosphere where Clark is forced to fight not only for victory on the scoreboard, but also for basic fairness. With every game, her frustration grows as she finds herself not only battling her opponents, but also battling a system that seems indifferent to her plight. After months of playing through brutal physicality, the situation came to a head when Clark was sidelined with a quad strain, putting her out for a minimum of 2 weeks. This injury, many believe, is the culmination of the WNBA's failure to protect its most important asset. The constant no calls and missed fouls over the course of several games put immense strain on her body, eventually resulting in the injury. What makes it even worse is the silence from the league. Not only did the WNBA fail to step in and address the obvious abuse of their top player, but they also failed to issue any public statement acknowledging the injuries she's been enduring. As her injury announcement came down, fans were left wondering, why did it take so long for the league to act? Why did it take a serious injury for anyone to pay attention to the physical toll Clark has been on? For many, the situation highlighted a bigger issue, the league's willingness to sacrifice its star for the sake of an old, outdated system. The WNBA has been reluctant to change, and as a result, the treatment of Clark and the failure to call fouls appropriately on the court has created a deep divide between fans, players, and the league itself. When Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA, she was expected to be a game changer. After a historic college career at Iowa, she brought in millions of new fans, raised the profile of women's basketball, and proved that the WNBA could generate more mainstream attention. She didn't just show up to play, she showed up to revolutionize the game. But instead of being welcomed as the league's golden ticket, Clark was met with elbows, physical play, and a constant barrage of body checks. The referees stood by, allowing all of this to happen without consequence. From the moment Clark hit the professional floor, it wasn't just about basketball anymore, it was about survival. Defenders treated her like she was a punching bag, and instead of being protected by the league, she was left to fend for herself. It's disheartening to see how the league has allowed its most valuable player to be treated with such disregard. Clark isn't just any player, she's the future of the sport, and she deserves to be treated as such. But instead, the WNBA has allowed her to be targeted in ways that no other player in the league would have been allowed to endure. This treatment has now reached a boiling point, with the injury to Clark acting as the final straw in a long history of neglect. The WNBA's officiating system is now under intense scrutiny. As more and more fans and players speak out about the lack of protection for their top star, it has become clear that there's a deeper issue at play. Many of the referees in the league, it turns out, were pulled from high school leagues with little to no experience at the professional level. This lack of experience has become glaringly obvious, especially when it comes to managing the league's most talked about player, Caitlin Clark. It's a troubling reality that the referees are learning on the job with no real guidance or accountability. To make matters worse, the league has a system in place where the referees aren't making calls based on their own judgment, but are instead being instructed by a behind-the-scenes committee of coaches, general managers, and other stakeholders. These individuals have their own interests at heart, and they are guiding the referees on how physical the game should be, which fouls to call, and how to manage the game based on what suits their preferences. This reveals a system that is more concerned with maintaining control over the narrative of the game rather than ensuring fairness, and the consequences of this are clear. Caitlin Caitlin Clark is bearing the brunt of a broken system that has failed to protect its brightest star. The real problem is that this situation isn't an isolated incident. It's not just the Indiana Fever that's suffering from questionable officiating. Other teams too are feeling the weight of inconsistent calls. Coaches, players, and analysts across the league have expressed frustration at the growing issue of poorly officiated games. Even the most seasoned players, like Brittany Griner, have had enough. Griner recently interrupted a live halftime interview to take to the referees, highlighting how players have been subjected to unfair treatment. It's not just one or two bad calls, it's a pattern, and it's affecting the integrity of the game. Fans have noticed it too, and their growing discontent is spreading like wildfire. For many, the lack of consistency in officiating is taking away from the enjoyment of the game, and it's not just the physical toll on players like Caitlin Clark, it's the emotional toll of constantly fighting against a system that seems intent on hindering rather than helping their careers. As Caitlin Clark continues to recover from her injury, the conversation around the WNBA's officiating continues to intensify. What was once a minor issue has now become a full-blown crisis. Fans, coaches, and players alike are all calling for action. The WNBA has failed to act swiftly, and now the backlash is mounting. Fans are no longer just disappointed, they're angry, they're demanding accountability, and they're no longer willing to let the league brush these issues under the rug. If the WNBA doesn't take a hard look at its officiating system, at the referees they're hiring, and at the policies they're enforcing, they risk losing not just Caitlin Clark, but a significant portion of their fandom. The league needs to act fast, or it could lose the very thing that's keeping it relevant: players and the fans who make it what it is. Caitlin Clark's injury is just the tip of the iceberg, and the WNBA has a serious problem on its hands. The treatment of its top star and the lack of protection for her on the court is emblematic of a deeper issue that has been festering for years. The league needs to do more to protect its players and ensure fairness on the court. The current system isn't working, and as the spotlight grows brighter on the league, it's becoming impossible to ignore the glaring issues with officiating. This isn't just about one player. This is about the integrity of the game. And unless the WNBA makes serious changes, it risks losing its brightest star, and along with her, the chance to redefine its future. Fans are demanding better, and the league has no choice but to respond. The time for action is now, or else. The league's brightest future may quickly dim. As the WNBA continues to grapple with the fallout from Caitlin Clark's injury, the league is under increasing scrutiny. Fans are questioning whether the WNBA is truly committed to protecting its stars and ensuring a fair playing field for all players. The league's silence in the wake of Clark's injury speaks volumes. By not addressing the clear mistreatment of its brightest star, the WNBA risks alienating the very fans who have been vital to its growth in recent years. Fans don't just want to see their favorite players perform, they want to see those players treated with the respect they deserve. This means fair officiating, protection from dangerous play, and accountability when the system fails. But with the league failing to take meaningful action, it seems as if the WNBA is content to let its most marketable assets suffer for the sake of maintaining a status quo that isn't working.